Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I have been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019. And we are now continuing to march forward through yet another offseason together. All right, folks, today we are talking about why I think the Jaguars could stand to reason to be bold in terms of trades, but use these draft picks. I think Jaguars maybe don't even include many 2026 draft picks. They have 11 in trade talks. If you're trying to grab a blue chipper, if you're trying to move up in the draft, what about a potential move up back into the first round from 56? I would use 2027 picks. I obviously, it's a different conversation about the premium picks, the first rounder, the second rounder. But beyond that, I truly think starting, especially with the third round selection the Jaguars have in 2027, they should use those picks to be aggressive this offseason. Package them however they need to, because if the Jaguars operate a certain way this offseason and do some projecting moving forward, there's a way they can leave this offseason with anywhere between 2 and even 4 to 5 more draft picks in the 2027 NFL draft. We've talked about it before, but the Jaguars have a real chance to play the compensatory pick formula this offseason. The Jaguars traditionally have never played the comp pick formula. They got some in, I believe it was the 2024 NFL draft, thanks to Jawan Taylor leaving. You see good teams continually build, their system and the depth of their franchise around the comp pick formula. But the Jaguars traditionally have just never been a team that has really played the game. They went a long, long time without even getting a comp pick before they ended up getting some after the 2023, offseason, in which they had a few guys leave and sign big contracts while they, weren't very active in free agency. The big reason the Jaguars have never really gotten comp picks is because of how active they've been in free agency. I don't have a figure or anything like that in front of me, but the Jaguars have been considerable spenders over the last several decades in free agency. They've always been the team that's treated free agency like Madden. They've been one of those teams. Think about some of the best Jaguars teams over the last 15, 20 years. 2017 team largely built through free agency. I don't know if you'd say largely, but several pieces. Calais Campbell, AJ Boye, Malik Jackson, Deshaun Gibson, Barry Church. It was quite a bit of pieces. 2022 Jaguars, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Darius Williams, Foye Oluokun, Foley Fatukasi, several other guys. 2021, Roy Robertson Harris, Shaq Griffin. That obviously wasn't a good team. Just naming different years in which they've been very active for agency. Obviously, 2024 with the additions of guys like Darnell Savage, Gabe Davis. Jaguars just haven't played the comp pick formula very often, and they've had seems like enough guys signed from their team to large enough deals elsewhere that it feels like maybe they should have lucked into some more, but they haven't. And a lot of that's been poor planning, and a lot of that's just been not playing that system very well. But I think the Jaguars are in a different position now. I think I'd be surprised if they don't get a third round comp pick, at least. If they don't enter the 2027, offseason with an extra third round pick. Because I believe that Devin Lloyd is going to sign one of the biggest deals in free agency of any player. And I don't think the Jaguars are going to sign a player anywhere near the level of a deal that Devin Lloyd is going to sign. I don't think it'll be anywhere close. So I do think the Jaguars will get a third round pick for Devin Lloyd. Beyond that, I think they could get a pick for Travis Etienne. Not sure if there'll be another third, obviously. I think Devin Lloyd feels like a pretty good lock for one. I'm not sure about after that, but Etienne, Greg Newsome. I mean, in a lot of ways, you can frame the Tyson Campbell trade as obviously Jaguars didn't get a ton of cap relief. I think they ended up having to pay more for Greg Newsome last year than they did for Tyson Campbell. And then Tyson has like a $19.5 million cap hit in 2026 because of dead cap. Third biggest cap hit on the team as things stand today for 2026. But they severely adjusted their draft position. And then they might get a pick out of Greg Newsome starting 11 games for them. They might get a pick, regardless, that's fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, whatever you want. Getting any of these draft picks is a good thing. This is how teams can really be built because it gives you that flexibility. You can make trades because you know more picks are coming in. Buster Brown's another one, potentially even Dewey Wingard. I could see a team, I could see like an Arizona Cardinals, a random team like that, going out and signing Dewey. I mean, he's put a lot of years on tape as a starter, as a special teams ace. There's no reason, to think why, maybe teams wouldn't be more interested than potentially what the Jaguars' price for him could be. So I really think with how March shakes out, as long as the Jaguars don't sign players to deals that cancel out and they kind of stay locked in on players who have been released instead of had their contracts, expire, then I think the Jaguars can really take advantage of the comp picks. I think they can be one of the teams that take the most advantage this year because this is a brutal free agency class. I know. Somebody, left the comment. It was like, you're saying this is a bad free agency class, but two of their best players are in it. That's true. The Jaguars have two of probably the 15 best players in this free agency class, and I still wouldn't re-sign them. I would not re-sign Devin Lloyd for the price he's going to get, and I wouldn't re-sign Travis Etienne. I've said before that I would to a deal that's probably below market value. But if you throw me out his three best offers that he gets in March and you tell me should the Jaguars match any of these, I'd likely to assume my answer will be no. This free agency class stinks. It's one of the worst in the last several years, in my opinion. I don't get it doesn't even feel like there's really depth appeal. So I do think the Jaguars, even if they weren't one of the teams that were set to potentially benefit the most from this free agency class being awful, my tune would be different. But the Jaguars have several guys who are about to get paid, and they have nobody, and then aren't in a situation where there's any external guys who would scream in like, yeah, the Jaguars should pay this guy. And Jaguars still have to clear a considerable amount of cap. They have, I think, what is it, the fourth most dead cap in the NFL right now, behind just the Jets, the Saints, and I know I'm obviously missing one, the Eagles, but they can free up money by restructuring. They can free up like $64 million restructuring. They can do a lot of things. They can be flexible. They shouldn't sit out of free agency because of the cap space users. They should sit out of free agency because this is a bad free agency class and because they can get draft picks by sitting out of it and being very selective with the guys they bring in. And by doing that, they can be more aggressive. They can be more aggressive in this draft. By planning ahead like this, they can reap the benefits as soon as April. I really think that this is the way to go, to build a team. I think the Jaguars, I'm not even saying that this is what they should do every single year because I think every offseason is different. I mean, some teams obviously, this is their go-to. But for this offseason specifically, I don't see a reason why the Jaguars shouldn't quickly take advantage of the opportunity that's kind of been afforded to them from a team building perspective. That's all we have for you in today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. We'll be back next time.